keyboards here. Can't keep track of what I'm doing. Wicked. Good morning. Oh, that's a little too much. So check this out. I thought I'd be slick and get the iPad when I ordered it with the nano texture on the screen, the nano texture coating, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, great. It won't show up fingerprints, which it doesn't. It's very good for that. The downside is you need to use a special cloth to clean it. Normal microfiber cloth doesn't cut it. So you got to use this super dense you got to use this super dense cloth from Apple. I don't know if you can get it anywhere else, but obviously you can get it from Apple. And they like to charge you for it too. It's 20 bucks. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Sorry, we're almost there, folks. Bear with. Bear with. Okay. There we go. And when you clean it, you have to use 70% alcohol. I think the 90% or higher might be too harsh on it. I don't know. Considering the price of these the ridiculous price of these tablets, I'm not going to take a risk and destroy my screen testing out alcohols that are less than what is recommended. All right. So this is where we left off. Actually, this isn't exactly where we left off yesterday. I forget where we left off, to be honest, so let me know if the music's too loud, not loud enough. I'm still struggling with getting this audio set up. I need to talk to my son. He's actually something of a professional streamer, and he uses a stream deck, and he's got the mic and the lights, and plays video games, computer games. Listen to me. So, excuse me. I gotta get him over here and have him help me figure out what the best setup is for my sound setup here. But anyway, if you can hear me, give me a hey hey. And if you can hear the music and it's not too loud, give me a hey hey hey. And if it is too loud, blink twice. No, seriously, does it sound okay? I want to make sure that nobody's like unable to watch because it's too loud or whatever. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to tilt this back a little bit like this. Sounds good? Okay, great. Thanks, Chaotic. Hold on a second while I adjust my camera here. Because I have a tendency to look down extremely because of the angle of my tablet here. And that's not necessary. I can actually aim this camera any way that I want with this arm. So why wouldn't I do that, right? Alright, let's see if that looks good on screen. We're streaming on Twitch and YouTube as well, so if those are your preferred places to go to watch live streams, we're over there as well. Just look for us under Laughing Dragon Foundries. Oh crap, hold on just a second. I am not interested in doing a multi-stream. I don't know what this is, but I am leaving. There we go. Sorry about that. Excuse me. I don't know who that person was. They invited me, and I ordinarily decline those, but I must have hit the wrong button. Sorry about that. All right, so we are working on... I know, it was odd, wasn't it? I get these invites all the time for things that are completely irrelevant to what I'm trying to do here, and they just show up, and it's like, you know what, I don't want to give anybody trouble about what they're trying to do with their live stream, but I'm not really interested in being part of your live stream. Hey Jeremy, you out there? And can you hear me? Okay, good. Sorry, I got all my volumes turned down because obviously I don't want some audio bleed, but I'll connect with you in person after my stream is over, show you what I've been working on, and talk to you about some conversations I've had, yada yada yada. All right, so let's continue on, shall we? So I'm going to go follow you on my 3D modeling Twitch right now. I'm going to go follow you on my 3D modeling Twitch right now. Okay, you do that. All right, the links are in my bio. If you're having trouble finding it, just click the links in my bio and it'll take you there. Got a master or link tree link. All right, so where we left off yesterday, and we're going to talk a little bit about this hair and the straw. I kind of perfected my technique yesterday, and I think you'll be interested in knowing how I did this. You know, potentially apply it to stuff that you're creating. Okay, so right now I'm working on the band that goes around the hat. Basically what I did was I did a profile that looks like this, and then we are going to give it a little bit of a twist. So that's basically what we're going to do here. We're just going to grab this lever here, and now it's twisting, but it's not rolling. I mean, it's rolling, but it's not twisting like I want, and I think the reason for that is because we need to turn on multiple profiles here. So I'm going to go back to the beginning where there's no twist. Well, looks like it's not cooperating. That's okay. It gets a little crazy when you close your path, because if it twists, it's twisting the entire path. If you leave the path open, then the twist, hold on, the twist will twist from one end to the next, but because it's an infinite loop, you basically have to kind of tweak your twist along the way at these different points. So, and that's okay. We just want to create the illusion of a twisted band here anyway. That's probably a bit too much. Let's redo it. I'm going to undo it a little bit here. Let's see which way we want to go. Let's go this way. Just want to loosen that spiral up a little bit. That's better. So I just kind of wanted a rope-looking twist going around the perimeter of our hat. And if you want this profile to be a little more complicated, again, as I said before, you would come in here and just, you know, add points to the, I'm going to turn snap off, add points to the profile. Sorry, I can't get the words out this morning. So if you want to look more like a strand of rope, which probably would be appropriate considering this guy is a scarecrow out in the field, and we just add some more points along our path here, tuck them in, and basically what you have to think is like in terms of a cross-section of a rope texture, and there you go. Now it's a little more, how do you say, ropey. Alright. Alright, I think we could probably scale this up just a little bit. Remember, this guy is not going to be printed huge, so you want to overemphasize some of your details. And let's take a quick look at it. I'm liking it. I'm getting rid of the grid. Again, it's kind of rolls over itself out here. If you want, you can increase that twist or decrease it. Just really kind of depends on what you want. Remember, artist's discretion. You are the artist. Make it look however you choose. All right, so let's talk about the hair. Oh, do you? Well, do a live stream and invite me. I'd like to see how you do it. So the hair is straw, and it's a little tubular right now because that's what we used to make it was a bunch of tubes. Basically, the concept is you've got one tube, which is still editable, by the way. So as I move these ends, you can see that as we modify the shape of the tube, all the strands of hair respond in kind. And here are all the strands that make up the hair, all of the tube strands. And they're all, oh, I don't want multiple of those. Let me put that up here. And actually, we're going to call this the hat band, so we don't get confused later trying to figure out what this is. I'm going to put the peak, I'm going to put the brim in with the peak. So then if we want to move the whole thing, we just grab this thing in our object palette and we can position it however we want. So again, back to the hair, and which, by the way, is the same technique I used for the straw here and then the straw down here. Now, one thing to notice is we have a couple of different types of objects here. So you have instanced and then non-instanced objects. And let me show you the difference. In order to demonstrate this, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to save this scene, and we'll jump out of here and come right back. So let's go open up our base project. Where is he? Here we go. This is a project that I set all of my settings to look the way I want right out of the gate, so I don't have to reset everything up every time. All right, I'm going to get rid of, well, you know what, let's keep that. We'll just use that as kind of our object that we're going to put our straw hair on. Okay, and as such, let's name this head, because that is our head. Okay, so using the same technique I did before, we're going to create a tube using our path tool. So we're just going to string it out there, no pun intended. All right, we'll just lay it there, maybe give it a little bit of a curve, and then we'll convert it to an object that we can actually use. Now you've got gizmo mode and then you got edit mode until you validate it. We're going to leave it in edit mode. We're going to duplicate it in edit mode. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to add a radial repeater. So this allows me to repeat it around whichever axis I want to. In this case, we're doing it around the y-axis. You can see down here in this palette here. If I want to do it on the x-axis, I would hit the x-axis or the z-axis, and those are the results. And then, of course, you just increase the count by moving the slider. All right. Now that's cool if you want completely, it's easy like Procreate. I'm used to drawing on Procreate. Yeah, it is, I am a graphic professional with over 30 plus years experience, so I'm going to speak from this, or I'll speak to this from that reference. I find it extremely easy to use, and having used Procreate as well as other programs, both on the iPad and you know on a desktop, it is one of the easier 3D modeling programs that I've ever had the pleasure of using. However, if you're new to 3D modeling, I think you will find out that it can be a little, it can be a challenge. It can be, you know, there's a learning curve to it, but it's not as deep or as sharp as some of the learning curves I've seen in other applications. It's $19.99 on the App Store. I am not a shill for Nomad, but to me it was worth the money. I bought it a year ago and just really started leaning into it about 5 months ago. Is she still with us? Or he? Or I'm not sure. Yeah. I thought it was a woman, I presume. Yeah, if you're still here, let me know. If you are, I will open up my current model selection and show you what I've created in the past 5 months. Somebody let me know if she's back. Again, blink twice if she comes back. Anyway, so what we've got here is kind of the beginnings of our straw hair And again, I can increase the number of objects all the way around. But if anybody knows anything about hair, and remembering from my Scarecrow, it's a little bit disheveled and strands sticking out here and there. And so what you want to do is you want to randomize the repeater. Okay. All right. You want to see? All right. Let's go ahead and save this. Let me save this real quick. We're going to just call this straw hair sample. Good thing I'm not modeling stools, because that would be like a stool sample. Nobody wants to see that. All right. So here we go. So in the last 5 months, this is part of the lineup. We call them wiggle buds. These are articulating animals. Aren't they cute? And this is our base. This is our basic. This is our initial creation, I should say, or our initial zoo, if you will. We got Toothless over here. These 3 models here, Starflight, I can't remember her name, Toothless, and then Gronkle. It's a Gronkle. These 3 are actually available for free download on My Mini Factory. So if you want to shoot out there and find us on Laughing Dragon Founders, you can download this and start printing them today. We do have Patreon, My Mini Factory, etc., etc. If you're interested in working with us. This is our Halloween collection. So for those who are into the Halloween scene, we took some of our more popular wiggle buds and made Halloween versions. We got a Bat Kitty, an Owl, Frankenstein Beagle, complete with the little lugs on the side of his body to keep him charged up. Zombie Raccoon, Vampire Dragon, you name it, we got it. And then this here is our Halloween collection all together. So this is the Halloween crew along with a cauldron. I can do at least one of these a day. In some cases, like this cauldron here, took me maybe, I don't know, a couple, 3 hours. I generally stream about 2 or 3 times a week, and anywhere from 3 to 5 hours per stream, and I can create at least one a day. So, and then we've got a coffin over here with stakes in it. There's also a version of the lid without stakes. Chaotic, if you go to, again, the link on my profile, it'll take you out to, it'll take you to several places, but if you're interested in becoming a commercial seller of our prints, or our models, prints of our models, you can get a license on My Mini Factory by joining our tribe, and you get access to our private Discord. We have a Discord server for everyone, but then we have a private area just for people that are, working with us in a commercial sense. And there's perks that come along with it, and we can talk about that more later if you're interested, but that's how you get started. Become a tribe member, or just join our Discord. Either way, we don't gatekeep the information here. I share it as quickly and as often as I can with people. Hold on, I'm going to turn my overheads off because I am getting a little bit of a glare on my screens. I'm just going to cut the ambient light down just a bit here. Oh yeah, that looks much better. Okay. Any other questions? By the way, if you haven't followed us, give us a follow, subscribe, whatever we do on the various platforms. And if you're on TikTok, tap that screen. Give us some likes. Al Sean, A.L. Sean. This view is way better. Those are great, bro. Thank you. I don't know who Al Sean is. Is that you, Chaotic? Hey, we got somebody watching us on Twitch. Woohoo! All of one person's. Yay. Cool. All right. Let's get back to work. Time's wasting. All right. So this, coming back again to our lampshade, our hair in progress. So again, you can increase or decrease the number of items that you want. But we don't have, again, again, especially in the case of the Scarecrow, we don't have the, what's the word I'm looking for? The lack of symmetry that we're looking for. you know, the organic look. So what you want to do is make sure that you have your repeater selected, not the tube itself, but the repeater, and this little button down here called randomize. Now that's the default, and as you can see, it is extremely random. So let's just go ahead and set all of this back to 0. Okay, so that's the way we start. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to randomize the rotation and go small steps. All right, just start moving that, and you'll see how things are starting to, well, randomize. You don't have to do much. All right, and then if you want to change the scale, we can go down or up or both. So if you want to decrease the scale from the starting point, then that's how you do it. You say, okay, I want the 100% scale to be the original Sculpt. This is Nomad Sculpt running on an iPad Pro. All right, and then you're like, I don't want any strand to be bigger than the original 100% size, but I'd like some variation and some to be smaller. So then that's what you do there. You turn on that minus, and if you want to go both directions, plus and minus, then you do it that way. And now you've got variation across the spectrum. Another thing a lot of people don't know, I'm going to reset this, is you can limit it to a certain axis. For example, on the rotation by tapping this little button here. All right, default is 30% on the Y and the Z. I'm going to set these to 0, and now I can just mess with the rotation on one axis only. Now this is going to rotate it into the object, so I'd be better off leaving that at 0 and just messing around with the Y and the Z. Same way with the scale. And here's what's really cool, is you can turn on plus or minus in each of the different axes, and then mess around with it that way too. So playing around with these settings, you can see how quickly you can go from just a standard symmetrical looking head of hair to something that obviously looks like you just, you created it organically. And we can increase the count so we can get more coverage. Okay, so that's how the randomize tool works. And then if you're feeling lucky, you just roll the dice, and it'll just shoot out some values for you. One that we didn't talk about was translation. What this will do is this will move your object. Again, you have the granular controls in each axis, or just a general, and this will move it away from its origin point, plus or minus, depending on which way you have it set. Okay? So again, let's say you've got it laying against the sphere the way that you want, and you don't want it to go into the sphere, then you would turn off the negative and only move it in the positive. See? Now it won't go further into your sphere, it'll just go away from it. So that's how you use the randomize tool. Now we have this issue. I'm going to go ahead and close this panel, and I'm going to select, now I'm not going to select the repeater, but I'm going to select one of the tubes, and you can select any one of these. They're all copies of the original, and this is the original, but I can select this one here. And you're like, oh, you know what, these are kind of crossing each other. I don't want them to cross each other. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and modify this one. Oops, they're all linked together. That's not going to work. All right, so what can we do? Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We are going to grab this radio repeater, and we're going to validate it. Now this gets rid of the radial repetition, so make sure you get the number of strands that you want, as few or as many as you want. And any randomization that you've done, you want to make sure that that's kind of been taken care of as well, because you're going to, all of this, once you validate, is going to go away, and we'll be left with just our objects. But if we leave them as instances, then when I adjust one, it'll adjust all of them. Okay? If I uninstance them, then I can adjust each one of them as individual objects. allow me to demonstrate. Or if he's like, you know what, I want to get rid of that one. There you go. Now it's gone. Now you can do little, you know, like, oh, that one's overlapping. We don't need that one. All right, so you see the power here inherent in the tool. And then the same thing. You like, I want some of these, you know, kind of point up like he's having a bad hair day. There you go. Now, laying this all out and doing this all by hand would be pretty much an insurmountable task. I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but man, why would you do it that way when you can do it this way? Making all of this stuff, you know, creating all these tubes, having them all lay against the edge of the sphere, placing them all. I mean, it's just, yeah, this just removes a lot of work. It really simplifies things for you. And if you're simplifying the tedious stuff, you can spend more time on the fun stuff. Okay, so you get the concept. So it's the same thing that we did for the straw around the arms and the legs, and then under the poking out from underneath the hat. Now, once you get all of this done, you can select the whole collection, and we can say, you know what, I want to make them all just one big mesh. And there you go. You don't have to do that, but you can. And if you don't want to join them together, like I said, there's the options. You're the artist. It's your prerogative. But then smooth out the ends, or you can use the corporate smooth operation. Anyway, so there you go. That's what we're working on today to finish up our Scarecrow. And then from there, we're going to start jointing and creating articulation on this guy. So, any questions so far? It's a pretty nifty tool, though, isn't it? I like it. I like it. And there's so much more that you can do with this, but that is just obviously a very practical application of this tool. All right. Actually, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back and save this scene as... Actually, you know what? We don't even have to save it here. We can just leave it. I'll just open something else. All right. So as you can see, I've already started applying paint to this. And I think I'm actually going to redo the hair. Just working on that little tutorial for you guys gave me some ideas on the hair, so let's do that. Let's slip back into matte cap. I'm going to hide the whole hat. And we're going to get rid of the hair. So you're going to get to watch me do it again. Alright, let's grab our tube tool, set it to path. I'm going to go up here because I don't want... Whoop. I don't need... Okay, there we go. We got an extra point there by accident. I don't need the hair to come down too much. I just need it to poke out from underneath the hat. So I'm going to move our strand up here just a little bit. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and turn that into an actual tube. I'm going to center it up on the head. And looks like things changed when I moved it. That's okay. And I think another thing that we're going to do is we're going to come in here and move this profile to the edge of the path. Like that. Actually just have it overlap a little bit. Okay. Now I can put the path along the edge of the head and the hair strand won't go into it, at least not very much. So we get a good interface between the hair, between the hair and the head. All right. So from here, we're going to go ahead and apply our radial repeater. And we'll call this hair strand. Okay, where's our radial? There it is. I'm going to set it to the Z-axis. Okay, now here's the center of our repeater. So what we need to do is we need to grab one of our objects and bring that to the center, because the repeater itself is what needs to be on the center of the head. So there we go, there's that. Let's take a look. Yep, that's hugging it pretty good. Another thing about the hair hugging the head is it will make it easier for us to print this later when we turn it into something that we can 3D print. Let's see, I'm going to move our pivot point. Put it right in the center of our repeater. There we go. And I'm going to drop this just a smidge. Oh, that's the arms. I want the radial repeater. Oh, gosh, what did I do? I had the wrong item selected. I sure did. All right, let's reset that pivot point where it goes. Now let's grab the head, or the hair, and put that up where it goes. There we go. All right. Okay. My head is not completely symmetrical, but again, it's close, so I'm not going to worry about it. All right, let's go ahead and put some segments on here. Anybody ever see the movie Tropic Thunder? Doesn't this remind you of Ben Stiller's character? I can't remember his name. Jack, something Jack. All right, so we've got our repeater and we've got our hair strands. All right, so now, using again the randomizer on the radial repeater, we are going to set everything to 0. And then for the rotation, I want to just move it across the surface without it getting too much. And actually, I just realized something. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that we want to set the pivot point. Where's our original hair strand? Okay, our pivot point is actually in the right place. Or, yeah. That's our hair. Where's the hair strand? Right there. That's the one there. Okay. I want to make sure we're lining it up with the correct one. All right. Feel free to ask questions, folks. I like answering questions. So again, going back into our randomizer. So what we're doing is we're rotating it at the pivot point. That's the reason I set the pivot point where I did. Okay. And I'm going to go with the scale only smaller. Some short ones, some long ones. And I think we'll increase the number of segments, or number of items, until we get it where we like it. Now I'd like some of these in the back to be a little bit longer, to come down alongside of his head. And I can adjust the scale to a certain point, but at some point you have to kind of take over and do it manually. So that's what we're gonna do. Because again, the repeater, or you can do two different strands. You know, you can do a short one and a long one, and then do a repeater that that takes it takes the long ones around. And like I said, there's a lot of options, but I'm just going to lengthen some of the ones that are here after we turn them into uninstanced objects. I think it'll just work a little faster that way for me. And in this phase, it's probably better to add more than what you need if you're not sure, because you can always delete them later. So, I'm just experimenting here. Because this is a curved object, curved object laying on a curved object, it's not always going to rotate to go. So you just got to kind of play with the settings, get it where you want it. It's going to create some gaps, but let's see if we increase the number of items. I like that. All right. So again, I'm going to go ahead and validate, but I'm going to disconnect the instancing so I can again adjust these on an individual basis. So we've got all these hair strands, and so now I'm just going to go in and grab each one and take it a little further down the path of where I want it to go. And some people have difficulty working in the matte cap mode, so if that's your case, then slip out of matte cap into paint. And if you want, you can go ahead and, you know, give it that yellow color. Now, because everything is uninstanced, you'll only paint one strand at a time unless you select everything. So let's go ahead and give it its yellow hair color. And 3D Drew D, I don't know if someone answered you before, it's Nomad Sculpt. I don't know if that's an old message or not. If it is, I apologize. Now just for a quick curiosity, I'm going to show our hat. Alright, we've got some hair bleeding through the hat, but it's not a terrible thing. And in fact, it looks like none of the hair is coming down past our hat. How is that possible? Because it's just not long enough. That's alright, we'll fix that. So it needs to come down to about here. Let's bring one of these strands down here so we have a measuring point. So we're going to back up here because I think we're going to do something a little differently. Rather than lengthening these strands, I think what we'll do is we'll make them shorter first. I'm sorry, we'll make them longer, and then we'll shorten them. The ones that we want, we will shorten. All right, so they're all individual objects. Let's go ahead and do that. Grab repeater. Alright, now unfortunately our randomizer is putting some of this down below the surface, and we don't want that. So let's go ahead and change that up a little bit. Oh, it's the scale. Alright, let's try the... There we go, I think. No, that's not working. All right, that's better than what we had. I don't know if I want to change translation at all. I don't know if that'll work, but we can try. Just have it carry away from the head just a little bit. Let's increase our count. Alright. I like this a little better. Now we just have to give him a haircut. Let's go ahead and show that hat. Yeah, that's about where I want it to be. In fact, maybe we'll just bring this down a little bit more. And here's an idea. As long as we've got the hat showing, let's pull the strands that we can see back here down so they're not in the hat. So we might need to do a little trimming, but that's going to work pretty good for back. So this is where you get into a situation where you're probably going to want to do two sets of hair, one to put under the hat and one for the front and sides. Or what we can do is we can make it for the front and then just cut all this out later, with the exception of this piece here that we want to actually come out from under the hat to show. Another thing we could try and do is bring it down further into the head. Oh, I didn't want to change the shape though. Now that's pretty close. I think that might get us where we want to go. It's a hippie scarecrow. How about that? Alright, let's try that. If we don't like it, we can always undo and come back and redo it. Alright, so I'm going to validate the repeater, not the hair strand. I'm going to validate, we're going to uninstance so we can work with them as individual instances. We paint them. And actually my vision for this hair headband, before I forget, is the I'm going to go ahead and validate that, and then I want to paint it this color brown. There we go. Alright, let's save this guy. Alright, so I think, like I said, I think what we want to do now is, because we have individual control on these strands, and this is easy. So you're like, okay, I want to give this guy a haircut. We don't have to do anything fancy. We're just going to eliminate points along our tube. So we want to get rid of a lot of the strands here that's covering up his face. So we'll just pull it up and get rid of that segment, and then shorten the other one. Until you get his face looking like you want it, as far as exposure goes. And if you find that pulling the point up pulls it up too far, just add another point and then delete the bottom point. But what I would do is just shorten all these by one segment and then see what you've got. Because as you pull these up and eliminate that lower segment, you're probably going to find some strands that you want to move around and reposition as well. So, not only to get it off the face, but also to, you know, have it fill in these gaps here where we see them. Let's see what we got. We're starting to see his face a little bit. I feel like the hair is still a little low. I want to show more face. Oh, I don't want that point. Let's see. So this segment here, I'm going to pull up and away. Now, as I said before, this comes down to artist discretion. How far do you want the hair to come down? You know, it's really just about your vision at this point. And if you find a segment is unnecessary, of course you always have the option to delete it. One thing I wish you could do on Nomad is I wish you had multiple viewports, so we could do a side and a front, and then I could work quickly without having to swing this model around so much. What would be awesome? Multiple viewports? Yes. But then I have to remind myself it's a $19 application. Let's not get pushy, right? Appreciate the tools for what they are and what we have. Be thankful. Okay, we're getting there. Gotta get rid of these bald spots. Excuse me. So no matter what you do, there's gonna, you know, whatever method you use, there is gonna be some editing that you're gonna have to do. But I think I've demonstrated how the use of the repeaters and then the randomization really speeds up the process. I mean, can you imagine laying all of these tubes out here individually, cloning them, positioning them? I mean, all we're doing right now is a little bit of cleanup. this is still a little low. I want these to come up and maybe out from the hat, or toward the hat a little bit, because I really want to show this guy's face. So let's grab these. Let me know if you guys got any questions. That's why we're here. Well, I mean, it's not the only reason we're here, but it's part of the reason why we're here. Answer questions, maybe create some questions you didn't know you had. And if there's any other subject you want to talk about, that option is open as well. How do you split the model for 3D printing? You mean the articulation? I assume that's what you're talking about, but do me the favor of giving me some clarity as to what your question is, because splitting it for 3D printing could be either articulation or it could be slicing in the slicer for it to work as a layer-based model for printing. I can explain both. I should say I can explain either or. Thank you, Chaotic. I see you came over back from Twitch to join the rest of us TikTokers. Actually, I'm not a TikToker or a Twitcher. I'm just streaming wherever I can. So if you were to split it into hat, hair, clothes, so it gets put together, say like an anime figure. Well, okay, so the method that I use is what's called print in place. So this will print just the way that you see it, with the exception of the articulation, which we will be doing once we finish the hair. And the idea, let me go ahead and save this. The idea is to be able to print them and then have them work without the need to do any assembly whatsoever. So I have techniques that I use to, obviously to paint the models here, to prep them for printing here as articulated items. So these are all articulated. They're all the flexies, if you will. Let me open up one individual file, and this is the one that just popped up, so let's open him. So we've got our winged pig here, right? Using print in place technology, this will come off the printer, and without any assembly, it will automatically flex and have a, certain degrees of motion based on how you've designed it. Here's one with the tail. Again, this tail flexes and works. Sounded like Smeagol there for a minute. Works automatically straight off the printer. And colors, and so no assembly required is basically what this is all about. So they're designed that way. If you're going to create something that you have to assemble, you can do that. I've got someone that actually wants a 25-inch tall version of this Scarecrow, so I'm going to actually be doing a couple of versions. One that prints like this as a print-in-place animated or articulated print, And then the other one, the other version I'll be creating where you can click parts together. Some of it will be already ready to go, but then I'll divide it somewhere in the center. I'll probably most likely do it in the slicer to create a slide together key and lock scenario where they will, where it'll slide together into one giant piece after printing multiple smaller pieces. Isn't he cute? So, hopefully that answers your question. If you want to stick around for the articulation segment, you can do that. I don't know that I'll get to the splitting of this guy into parts that you can assemble today, but there's a little bit of engineering that goes into it, a little bit of trial and error, and knowing where your printer preferences or your printer tolerances are set, so you get it right the first time, which we don't always do. Hopefully that answered your question. The articulation for me is creating articulation for me is easy. Where it gets a little bit difficult is when you start doing the segmenting of pieces and then creating a snap fit scenario. Like I said, that takes a little more engineering, and sometimes it's successful, and sometimes it isn't. So it just takes a little bit of work to get it right. Once the tubes are where you want them, do you have to validate each one? We can, but we don't need to. The nice thing is when this thing goes into, when I export this as an OBJ with the paint information into Bamboo Studio, it'll come in just like this. The nice thing is I leave a lot of these elements as tubes, so if something doesn't work during the print, the test phase of my print, I can come back in here and change it without, without much trouble, rather than having to redo everything. Alright, so some of these strands I'm actually going to get rid of. But if you want to do further sculpting on the objects, then yes, you'll have to, like for example, if I wanted to smooth the ends, then yes, you would have to validate. And initially I was planning on smoothing the ends, but I think I'm going to actually leave them squared off. I think it just gives it more of a, I don't know, a little more of an animated feel to it, which is kind of always my objective when I'm creating this stuff. I definitely don't want to go to this guy's barber, though, I'm telling you that. Alright, I think we've got enough room for a face here. I do want the hair to fan out a little bit here. Oh, we got some buried in his skull back here. Let's fix that. Oh, we got a lot buried in his skull back there. Let's fix that. Yeah, I'm constantly, as I work on this stuff, I'm trying to come up with simpler ways to do it. Not only, hold on, TikTok wants to make sure I'm still breathing. Hold on, TikTok. Not only for myself, but also for you as the viewer. So if I stumble upon something, I'm like, holy cow, this makes it so much easier. I don't gatekeep that information. I share it with everybody that I can. Like, look what I figured out how to do. And everybody's like, oh, that's so amazing. Thank you so much. And they go make $1 million, and we're all happy. There you go. And if you make $1 million, just buy me a cup of coffee. Or join my Patreon. That's always appreciated. But you don't even have to do that, like I said. Pixels are free. Heard an artist say that once, and I'm like, yeah, That's a good way to look at it. Now, actually, so I just realized something as I'm saying this. As much as I like to keep things in their primitive state, it actually won't be possible with this model. And the reason is because we're going to trim this to lay flat on the build plate, and that is basically this blue line running down here. So we're going to actually have to, a lot of these hair strands will have to be validated. And again, this is coming from me. I know my printer setup, and I know what I can get by with and what doesn't work. So I say that for the average user. As much as you can, leave it in its primitive state until you get past the testing stage. And then once you get past the testing stage, it's up to you whether or not you want to go, take it out of its primitive state and make it a final object, if you will. But you don't have to in order to use it in the OBJ file. Now, like if I was going to print this standing up like this, I would totally leave all the hair unvalidated, so I could come back and work with it. What I might do is I might create a copy of the hair. So another way around that is if you have to validate something, in this case, like I'm going to have to in order to slice the back of it, just create a copy and hide it, put it off to the side. Anything that you hide will not export in your OBJ file, unless of course you choose to do so. And then if it's not right, or if it messes up, or you got to make some severe changes, then you can grab the copy, delete the one that messed up, and make it another copy, and play with the other one until you get it right. My wife has a cosmetology license, so I'm very conscious of the fact that I need to make sure this guy has a decent haircut. Otherwise she'll look at it and go, "What have you learned?" And I'll be like, "Not much, obviously." But he is a Scarecrow, darling. And she'll be like, "Oh yeah, you're right. Never mind. As you were." Now, one thing you do want to do if you're going to leave things unvalidated is to make sure that your objects have and I should have done this before I uninstanced everything, but you want to, and I don't know if I can do it as a group. Let me see. So I can select all of these. Yeah, I can't. So I'm actually going to have to go into each one of these and up topology, just so we have a good topology, because when this thing converts, as you export it as an OBJ or an STL, either one, whatever you use, whatever format you use to slice, it is going to convert those surfaces or that geometry automatically, and you may run into a situation where you've got geometry that doesn't look very clean and smooth. Nope. Okay. All right, I think the back and the sides look pretty good. That's my non-professional opinion, for what it's worth. And then I think the front still looks a little too, the word that comes to mind is bunchy. I don't like the bunchy look up here, so I think I need to get rid of a couple of these. Yeah. Let's try getting rid of that one. Maybe that one. Definitely that one. anything that's buried we don't really need. Wow, that one's really buried. Let's see. What do we got here? Kind of like this little clump here. We'll leave that. Like I said, at this point it becomes artist's discretion. As Bob Ross always used to say, you want to put a tree in there? Put a tree in there. Maybe some birds. Yeah, that looks about right. Alright. I think we got the hair where I want. Got a little bit of an uneven haircut there, which I think just kind of neat. What kind of OMG, I need lessons. You and me both, let me tell you. I should maybe forget what I was going to say. Show up here every, I try to get out here a couple, 3 times a week. So I can be part of your learning process. We are recording, live streaming this to YouTube and Twitch and Discord. If you're on our Discord server, which is free for all, we do have an area for paid customers for our subscribers on My Mini Factory. But I am live streaming actually on Discord right now as well. So we have multiple options where you can show up. Fortunately, the lives on YouTube and Twitch are saved, so you can come back and watch them at your leisure. Alright, what do we got here? Let's get rid of that. Now, because each one of these are their own individual items, let's say, for example, I'm like, oh shoot, I really want to expand this one here to cover up this gap, right? Well, we can turn on multiple profiles. And now I can just fatten this up where I need to. Don't tell anybody I told you. That's something we usually charge extra for. Alright. Time for a sip of coffee. Not you guys, me. I mean, if you have coffee, by all means. Do I give private lessons? Well, sorry, you got me mid-sip. Hold on, this coffee's really hot. If there is enough demand for it, then we could set something up. Obviously, that's something that we'd have to talk about terms as far as, you know, as far as fees go, because like everybody else, time is precious, and I only have so much. So if I'm going to do private lessons, and I would probably, you know, like a group lesson, then yeah, anything's possible. I'm open to all suggestions. So if you want to shoot me a DM on here, and we can talk about the possibilities. Let's start with a conversation and see where it goes. I feel like this hair is a little thick right here. Let's get rid of that one. We're just going to thin you out a little bit, take a little off the top, you know. I like that one in there though, because it's, oh yeah, here we go. I'm not going to get rid of these, but I want to resituate them just a little bit. There we go. And then that one, and oh, not that one. This one needs to come down a little bit. Let's get crazy. Let's just pull him out like that. Okay, so again, not being a licensed cosmetologist or hair professional of my own, I think we're looking pretty good here. There's just one place I want to change things up a little bit. Tighten this up in here. And this one here. Pull that off the hat a little bit. Oh, I saw one more I want to change. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? I think it's this one. Or maybe it was this one. Actually, both of them could use some tweaking. Let's pull this one out. All right. So I think, and again, I think it was Melissa that asked me earlier about leaving these as primitives and not validating. And the cool thing is too is as because these are all tubes, as we go along, we still have the ability to increase or decrease, you know, the shape and size of the strand while it's still in its primitive state. So, like I said, going with a copy and then validating that copy for your testing, I think is a smart move. All right, so I could tweak this hair all day, but I think we're in a good place. Except for that piece, that one is unnecessary. Just checking our brim. Looks like we got a cowlick going on here. Let me fix that. There we go. Alrighty. Let's work on his face. I think we need to do the face next, after another sip of coffee. Now, here's something to keep in mind while you're modeling, especially if you're doing this for 3D printing. One thing to keep in mind is 3D printing is not like printing out on an inkjet or a laser printer color. You can print thousands of colors. 3D printers are typically limited by however many AMSs or CFSs that you have. In my case, I have a couple of printers with 2 CFSs, so I can print up to 8 colors. I do have a hub where I could hook a couple more CFSs up and get a maximum of 16, but that's not a usual case scenario. All right. So the reason I bring that up is because trying to keep the color palette at 8 or less colors is important to people on the on the backside that are going to be printing your models. And I'm not going to do it right now, but I am going to tweak this hair over here on the other side a little bit more. But we'll do that later. We're going to move on for now. So right now we've got two colors of brown. We've got the yellow. So that's 3 colors, and the blue is 4. Now I happen to know we're going to use white and black for the eyes, so that's 6 colors. And we'll probably do actually, we could probably get by with that. I am going to, so that'll be 6 colors. I am going to put an option on all of my prints, or on all of my creations. I put an option of a heart on the chest or somewhere on the outfit. It's kind of a little trademark. These are wiggle buds, and they're your butt, so they love you. They have hearts on them. But we also, with our models, have a version where it doesn't have the heart. So you can just print it, without the heart. The cool thing is with the heart, I'll usually do it in red, okay? Um, but through the use of Bamboo Studio, which is typically what you're using to set these models up for print, um, you'll find that you can actually merge one color with another color. So, for example, if you only have 4 colors on your AMS, you might print the boots, anything that's this color of brown, you might match the coat. So that brings you back down to 4 colors. Um, this actually is an off-white. So like I said, it's important to keep that in mind. I'm going to design this way the way it is, and then we'll when I start working with this later in terms of getting it ready for print. The first thing that I do is a function test, so I'll print it in a single color just to make sure all the articulation and everything works properly. And then I'll worry about creating versions where people can print with, 2 or fewer AMSs, which again should give you up to 8 colors. And there's nothing wrong with printing, these prints, any of these prints, in just one single color. Like the rainbow fillets, there's a lot of gradients, or 2 colors. So yeah, there's a lot of options when it comes to printing. Printers that I have 5 of the Bamboo Lab printers. I've got 3 X1s. I'm sorry, 4 Bamboo Labs. I got 3 X1 carbons. I just picked up the H2D, their newest, biggest one. And then I've got a Creality K2 Plus that I picked up with like 10 hours on it off of Facebook Marketplace. And then I have a Voron that I hand built. And then my original printer, which is the Raise 3D N2 Plus Dual. So how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 7 printers. I had over 40. I had over 40 at one time. Actually had one of the top selling shops on Etsy. Had our own website. And then late 22, I was diagnosed with stage 4 lymphoma, and came within days, or at the very least weeks of dying. Didn't even know it. And doc said, you got to reduce your stress or you're going to die. And I said, okay, I should do something about that. So I sold most of my printers except for the few that I prototype with now, and I sit at my desk and I do this now instead and create my own line of models. Are you a 3D designer? I am, Parker. Thank you for asking. How hard was it to learn Nomad? I'm well versed in SketchUp, Rhino, Basic Fusion, and Revit and CAD. Awesome. Oh, no, Sabby, did you give me a follow? Did you give me a follow? Because I'd like to have a chat with you later. We've actually got some business opportunities that we are in the process of discussing with some people. Anyway, Jay in Motion. No, I don't think. Now, again, take it with a grain of salt. I've been a graphic designer for about 35 years. And by the way, Sabby, I appreciate the sympathy, but I am actually in full remission. I actually had the rarest lymphoma, one of the most aggressive and rarest cancers that you can get. Only 1% of cancer patients get it. It's called Burkitt's lymphoma, and I just happen to, by the providence of God, I just happen to have the world's foremost leading expert on lymphoma cancers on my medical team, and she saved my life. So here we are. I got some printers and need some designs. Well, Parker, you've come to the right place. Let me see if I can do this. I tell everybody where to go, but I don't show them. So I'm going to show you. Hold on. Let me go to my profile. So if you go to my profile, all right, hopefully you can see this. Yeah. I don't want to sync my Facebook friends. So if you go to our profile, you see right here, this little link tree. All right, so in here is all of our links: Patreon, My Manufacturing, our Discord, obviously TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I don't do much on Facebook. Apologies, but Facebook irritates me. We won't get into that. And if Facebook, if you're listening, I'm sorry, but yeah, you just do. Anyway, if you're looking to get models to print, if you punch the My Manufactories, this is where our models are located. We're going to have a thing where I'm working with Thangs right now to get our profile set up. We're going to be on Cults 3D and Maker World, which is Bamboo Labs Bamboo Labs model platform. We are going to charge for them, as I said before. We do have some free downloads. Don't be discouraged in that. We do have some free downloads. They're non-commercial, and they are IP-protected models by the original IP holders, so don't... No. It's all good. Oh, Savvy, I'm sorry to hear that. Thank you. So, yeah. No, your English is great. Sounds great here. I mean, it looks great. And if you speak like you type, you're doing fine. Anyway, these links will take you out to. Let me just punch one and see if it works. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so here's our My Mini Factory. Right now, we're only releasing our models one of two ways. You can either become a commercial subscriber, which gives you a license to sell. That's $14.99 a month or $13.49, obviously, if you subscribe yearly. Our starter pack has 29 models in it. Or if you just want to download the freebies, I can show you those. That's Skydart, Rumblechomp, and Night Zip, which are from How to Train Your Dragon. Those aren't their official names, but again, I'm trying not to stomp on any IP toes. These are free. So if you want to try out the quality of our models, download those for free. Give them a print. See how it goes for you. And then you can buy the models individually in our starter pack. By the way, the broom comes out of this owl's claws. It's really cool. And then, or again, if you want to get right, jump right out of the gate and start selling, then the tribe subscription is the way to go. But again, all of our links are in here. So our Patreon, if you just want to become a follower on Patreon to keep up with us, you can do that too. That's free. Okay, that was actually easier than I thought it would be. Back to sculpting. You like the owl? Yeah, the owl is cute. I think a lot of people like... Hold on, let me go back out here. I think a lot of people like this. I don't know if you saw this one or not. This is one of my favorites, actually. This little guy here. The Bat Kitty. We call him Salem. This is actually modeled after a cat that I own. His name is Leroy. But Salem is, a little more Halloween-y. He is cute. He is cute. He's extremely popular. I printed a plate of them because I'll do the prototypes and then I'll print color ones for videos and photos, and then I'll just give them out, to friends and family. I don't have any of these left. They went really quick. But that's him, and that's him printed next to our tombstones, which we have the tombstone pack here. This is, and again, all these models that you see here right now, up until the end of the year, once you subscribe, you'll get all of our models that we make. And then after the new year, we're only going to start. You'll only be able to get the current month's models when you signed up, and everything after that. Maybe the previous month, but we're going to start limiting what you can get. So if you're going to sign up, now's the time. Yeah, those are our tombstones. This one's real popular. The lid is actually the potion with the witch's legs sticking out. And then we've got Dracula's coffin. The rings articulate on the side, and you can put your wiggle buds inside. It also comes with a lid that doesn't have the stakes in it, which is important if you want to be the one to stake the dragon. This guy is pretty popular too. Never mind the quality on the print here. I had a friend print these out for me, and he has his purge settings set incorrectly. So that's the reason that the black came out on the fringe of the white. But this guy's really cute too. And yes, I am biased. I designed these guys, just the story. This is what started it all, this little guy here. My wife is a nut for penguins, and so that is the reason why I designed him. And now why I have over 40 plus models. How big is it? Well, the Witch's Cauldron, you can print it as big as you want. Actually, if you give me a sec, let me step away from my desk, and I will show you the one that I printed out. Hold on one sec. Okay. So I designed the Witch's Cauldron to be the type of model that it is for that reason. So you could print it out as big as you want it. But here's mine. You know what? Let me move this aside for a moment. So there it is. I printed the fire is printed in a dual extrusion filament. So as you rotate it, it turns red and gold. And there is the lid with the legs sticking out, and then there's the inside. Oh yeah, candy dish. I mean, I could print this even bigger. I could probably go 50 with the printers that I have. I could literally go twice the size, so it could literally be this big. And like I said, you know, it just comes down to what you want. So if you want it bigger, you just print it bigger. So sorry I can't get back far enough from the camera. It's too big. And the story behind the legs, I wanted to do a cauldron, and I made the surface, you know, the potion, and I'm like, gosh, I wish there was a way to, you know, to create a handle to get the lid off easily. And I was online looking at cauldrons just to get ideas for the legs, and I saw somebody made a paper mache, I think it was paper mache, like a Hobby Lobby thing or something, with the witch's legs sticking out of it, and I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. And now I have a handle. So there you go. I'll stick that back there. Bring this guy back into focus here. And I brought this guy down too. So here's another one of our prints. A little koala with articulating ears. And this is my bag that I carry around with me that has all of my prototypes in it. If you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, there's my bag. I carry all my prototypes, so I'm ready at any moment to hand out a wiggle bud. I love going to restaurants and eating out, and you know, kids are at the table next door. Of course, I always, you know, check with parents and like, is it okay if we, you know, if we give them, you know, something? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. And then you give the kids one, and the parents are like, can I have one? It's like, yeah, sure, why not? All right, trying to get my screen line back up so you can see the menus. All right, there we go. Your daughter would like that one? Well, now you know where to get it. Or you can stick around and watch what I do and learn to model it yourself. All right, hold on. Okay, hold on, my cord is getting in the way. All right, back to reality here. Back to the sculpting. Oh, and we are going to be releasing, just so you know, the Harvest Collection will be dropping first week of October. I'd like to make it the first day of October, but I'm actually going to be driving to Colorado next week. Can I know what software? We're using Nomad Sculpt. You'll find it on the Apple Store. It's also, I think, on the wherever you get Android apps. What is that? Play? Google Play. You know what? No, yeah, Nomad is probably harder than Tinkercad. I'll be honest, I use Fusion 360. I haven't tinkered with Tinkercad. Yes, pun intended. But it's just like anything. You put some time into it and learn the basics. And like I said, show up here every week. I'm on here at least once a week, if not 2 or 3 times a week as I have time. And I'll show you how I do stuff. And then you take it and run from there. But Nomad Sculpt, I think, is more capable than Tinkercad, especially for this type of work. So that's my opinion. All right, I'm going to slip back into matte cap mode because we are going to go back to sculpting here. So we're going to need this guy's going to need some eyes and a nose. So let's see. I'm going to put the nose about here. I think these things are still a little bit too low. So let me pull these up out of the way. at least initially. If we want to pull something down over his eyes for a little, a little moody look, we can do that too. But right now I need him out of the way. So the sphere is going to be the basis for our eyes. All right, it comes down here to the middle of our playing field. I'm going to pull that up, and then we're going to pull it out, scale it down, of course. I have a particular way I like to do my eyes. I like to do a circle within an oval, and the outer black is the oval. So I'm going to do the circle first, and then I'll put the oval behind it, and then we'll put it both. We'll put them both on the. I've been watching lots of videos. It took me a while to learn Tinkercad. Well, then you have a good basis from which to start. A lot of people that want to get into this have no starting point. So at least you've been using Tinkercad enough to to have like I said, a good foundation of 3D in general. All right, so there's one of our eyes. I'm going to go ahead and clone this. That's the eye white, and now for the eye black. Drop it behind that eye. Scale it up a little bit. And then move it up. Hold down my Shift key to select both of them. And I'm going to select the head, and I'm going to solo these objects, so I'm just looking at the head and the eyes. And I want just the eyes. Okay, I want them both. Bring them up against the head. And we'll just line it up. With the surface of our sphere. Hello, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that name. Hello, welcome. Alright, so there is our first eye. I'm going to put a little space in between here. Let's go ahead and, let's see, is that the right? You know what, I'm going to slip back into paint mode because I want to apply a little bit of color here and make sure that I like the size before I duplicate it for the other side. Okay. Something's a little off about that center. Actually, it might be this. Let me widen it out a little bit. Yeah, that helps. I want to pull this out here, and then I'm going to move this over just a little bit because you want the eyes to always be pointing at you. So it doesn't look like they're cross-eyed when you get in front of them. All right, now we'll clone it. Clone it and move it over here. And I'm going to slip back into matcap. I'm going to select all of that. We're going to solo it because I want to sorry, I'm talking or thinking while I'm working. All right, this eye is a little off here. That's the reason it looked a little odd. Oh. All right, tell you what, let's name these objects. That's going to make things a little easier for us. And actually, I'm going about this backwards. Let's do this. I'm going to turn solo off. Let's come back out here to the front. Ah, how do I keep getting this tool? Oh, I know what I'm doing. Let me. Oh, I can't. Say boom. There we go. We'll grab our brush tool. All right. So My bad. What I should be doing is I should be using the mirror feature. I can't believe I was not paying attention to what I was doing here. So real quick, like, I'm going to grab both eyes in the head. We're going to solo, and we're going to go to the top of our head here and get this oriented the way that we want. There we go. And then from the side, that looks good. Yeah, all right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn solo off. We're going to apply a mirror repeater to this and mirror it over to the other side of our head, our face. Okay, and what I want you to see is I'm going to grab all these items, and again we'll solo it, and it not only duplicates it but then mirrors. It's an exact mirror, so the angle, the size, the placement, they're all in the it's all in the proper place, just on the other side of the face. And the cool thing is if I come in here and start moving things around, that one there will reposition accordingly. So that's why it's important to use the mirroring function. Recursive Red Dragon. That is a very creative username. Way to display it. Alright, so we've got our eyes. Now we need our nose and a little bit of a smile. I was thinking of doing eyebrows, but I don't know that we're going to have... Well, you know what? Here's what we can do. Let's do this. I'm going to select this. We're going to slip back into matte cap, and I'm going to turn on X-ray so we can see through everything. And real quick, I'm going to turn on symmetry, and we're just going to grab our inflate, set it to sub, go with a small brush size. Actually, I take that back. We're going to use the mask tool, and we're going to use our mask tool to just create a quick, whoop, I need to res that surface up quite a bit. Let's push it over 350, hit it with a smooth operation. Okay, now I'm going to paint our eyebrows up here where we want them. And I'm going to, now that I know roughly where they're going to be, I'll go ahead and solo this object so I can do a little cleanup. Alright, get those eyebrows right where we want them, just looking the way that we want. And then we're going to invert our mask. I'll solo again, and we'll use our brush tool, set to sub, so it pushes the geometry in. And then we'll smooth it, and then we will get rid of the mask, and we will remesh the entire object, and then just very gently smooth the edges of our eyebrows here. There we go. Turn off X-ray, and now we can kind of see the eyebrows as indents. Thanks. I hope to make this version my signature for digital work. It's not user-friendly though. Yeah, no, that's I had a hard time just reading it. I mean, I get it now. I can see it, but started with digital stuff 4 times working with Nomad Sculpt. Excellent. Shoot me a follow. I usually follow artists back. Take a look at your work, and of course, if you're so inclined, feel free to show up here and be part of the community. Where are my eyes? They're in the hair strand. That's not what we want. Let's take this out of here. I'm going to put it with the head because that's where eyes would normally be found. I'm going to put the stitches on our coat. Sorry, I'm doing a little bit of object cleanup here. So we've got, that was eye white, and this will be eye black. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. What is this group here? That is the shoes. Alright, I think everything is named now, so coat goes on the body. Hat peak goes, or the hat peak goes with the head. And for that matter, the hair goes with the head. There we go. All right. Let's go ahead and give this guy a nose. So I'm going to just put a, I can just do a sphere. And then just manipulate the sphere to have the shape that we want it to have. So I'm going to bring it out here on top of his face. Size it down, move it down. We'll validate it because we're going to do a little sculpting. I'm going to grab my move tool. Symmetry's turned on, so what I do on one side is going to happen on the other side. And we're going to just create a little bit of a triangular shape nose here. This is an iPad Pro. iPad Pro running the latest OS. It is the M4 chip, so it's pretty fast. I will say that before this machine, I used a 2022 model, and it seemed to work just fine as well. So it got a little hot after a while, but I do have a tendency to sculpt some marathon sessions. So. And I do it for the fans. Do I post my live streams on YouTube? Yes, I do. In fact, we're streaming to YouTube and Twitch right now. Again, links in my profile, which you will find right here on our page. There it is, YouTube, and looks like I didn't put Twitch out there. That's disappointing, and we will fix that. Anyway, so yes. All right, there's our nose. Now I think he needs a little bit of a smile. And I just realized I think I want to bring this head out just a little bit down here. So again, I've got symmetry turned on. I'm just going to bring it, give him a little bit of a chin, so that smile is a little more prominent. All right, let's go look at this in paint mode. Definitely don't want an orange nose. I think we'll just borrow this color here. That works. All right, so we're going to use a little technique now called mask extraction for the mouth. If I can go back and rewatch, yeah, I believe so. I believe so. I have to look into it because I'm not sure if I have to purposefully save the live streams on YouTube and Twitch. I don't know if they delete after a while, so I got to look into that to make sure they don't get deleted. But yeah, you should be able to go back there and watch. Yeah. I mean, I assume you should. And if not, I should probably download them so I can keep them for posterity and re-upload somewhere else. All right, so I want to make sure I have a nice high. We're going to do a stitched, kind of a stitched mouth. I want to make sure I have a high polygon count on my model, which I do. Symmetry's turned on because we want a symmetrical smile. And we're going to come in here and paint where we want our smile. So we're going to start here. Kind of a Raggedy Ann smile. If you think about it, a Scarecrow is just basically a Raggedy Ann dressed up for Halloween. And then we're going to give it the stitch look, so I'm going to go ahead and, draw some stitches here. I'm going to actually reduce the size of this brush just a smidge. Now, if you don't know about this is going to kind of blow your mind. So, if you use the mask tool, obviously we're masking, right? And the reason that we would mask something is if we don't want something to happen in a certain spot, so we want to protect this area. But the way that we're using the mask tool, hold on, is we're creating an area that we want to turn into geometry. I'm going to clean that edge up just a little bit, and then we're going to blur it. All right, as the guy from Jurassic Park says, hang on to your butts. Right up here on the top left, we've got the mask extraction. Look at that. We created geometry just by drawing on an area and then telling it extrude. Extrude or extract this geometry from our mask. Now the cool thing about this is because we masked it on a contoured surface, as I rotate this around, let me unlock our view, it follows the surface. So this opens up the possibilities of doing some crazy stuff on your models just by painting on it. So if I grab the mask tool and I come out here and I say, you know what, I just want kind of a little filigree on his cheek or whatever, boom, there you go, it's done. Does that blow your mind? It blows my mind. And I know how to do it. So, we've got our Scarecrow mouth, just like that. Nobody's impressed. Wow. Tough crowd. That's all good. You see how his hair is kind of rough over here? I like that. This is a little too neat, so that's what I'm going to fix later. And I won't bore you guys with doing that while you're here, because you've already seen me do that. All right, so if your mouth is the way that you like it, then you can obviously go ahead and hit the extract button here, and now it'll pull that geometry out and make it its own object. If you don't like it, right, and that's the way I used to do it. I used to do it either, pull it out with the gizmo, or I would use the inflate tool. But oh my goodness, I mean the stuff. I mean you can create free-handed designs. Just you want to give him a little, you want to give him a little mustache. There you go. He's got a mustache. And the cool thing is it follows the contour of the object that you're putting this, this mask on. That's the best thing about it. So I'm going to do that. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. All right. In this case, so I've got the panel pinned open. If you close it, it goes away until you extract it. I kind of think I want to thin this down a little bit, but if I do that, then I'm running the risk of the geometry not being big enough to produce. Hey, that's what it's about. It will extract the piece out so you can make it. Yes, absolutely. And you can also, so there's a lot of options that you have here. And steal away, red, what was it? Red, recursive red dragon. I'm just going to call you a red dragon because I think that's cool. All right, but yeah, you can vary the thickness. So if you want some, really thick geometry, you can do it that way. I set, because this is going to be 3D printed and I don't want any kind of non-manifold edges or holes in my objects, I will, whoa, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, I reversed the mask. My bad. So yeah, there you go. I reversed the mask and now it extrudes everything except the area that I had masked originally. Look, instant jack-o'-lantern. But we're not doing jack-o'-lantern. That's already done. Anyway, you can vary the thickness. You can round all or just make it a sharp border if you want your geometry to have a real sharp edge to it, and then clean it up later. If you want just the borders only to be smooth, I do an all. And then this here is very important. Again, I'm going to turn on X-ray so you can see through, which, okay, you can kind of see here. There is the surface of the object. You see that line, that dividing line right there? Okay. I extruded with my thickness above and below the surface line of my object. What this does is this guarantees that this object here is going to be touching the surface. So you don't have to worry about there being small gaps that you're not aware of and then messing up your prints, and you're forever trying to figure out why it won't print successfully. So I just set it to plus and minus. So you can set it above the surface, below the surface, or above and below. I always run with above and below. Oop. Let's get it right about there. All right, turn X-ray off. So you get it where you want it, you hit extract, and again, it's its own geometry now. That's actually, I'm not too sure that that's thick enough, so let's go and do it one more time. Extract. A lot of options in here. Again, I'm not going to go through them all. My advice is play with them and get to know them. In the meantime, we are going to clear our mask and paint our object. And I believe I'll use the dark brown on this. I'm going to grab my paintbrush and sample the color and paint. Alright, so we've got our smile. We've got our straw fingers here. Actually, I think I'm going to reduce. I think I did these, left these all tied together as a primitive. Yes, I did. So I'm adjusting it here because this is a mirror. It's adjusting it over here as well. And now I'm going to increase the size and relocate it. Whoop. Actually, I want to move the whole mirror and not just the tube. Straw hands. Oh, that's for the feet. All right. I want to move these up a little bit. There we go. Okay, let's see. Extract duplicate. Okay, extract duplicate it. Make one of the extracts indented. You could print out a separate piece. Yeah. And then, if you wanted to make it so you could glue this smile in later, you could make a clone of this, use your inflate tool to increase the size of it to create clearances all the way around it, use that as a boolean to cut out the space in the head, and then you'll have enough clearance to be able to print this separate and the head separate and glue the mouth into it later. If that's the direction that you were going. Kind of sensed that it was, but if I'm wrong, of course, let me know. And if I'm right, just give me a heck yeah. Alright, that looks good. Just doing a little last minute visual. Alright, so let's use the same technique to create a patch on his clothing, okay? I'm going to do a patch over here and a heart over here. Now the heart I'm going to do a little differently, but let's... And then another thing that you want to be aware of is the layer capabilities. So let's say, for example, I want to create the heart. Let's start with the heart. I'm going to add a layer here, and I'm going to call it heart. Alright, now I'm going to step back. I'm going to stay in paint. I'm going to come over here and grab my stamp tool. Make sure we've got the heart layer selected. I'm going to grab the stamp. I've already got a preset stamp set up here. I'm going to turn symmetry off because I only want it on one side, and we are going to paint it red. Or you know what? Just for grins and giggles, let's paint it gold. Okay, we're on the heart. And I'll turn the intensity. No, I want to turn the intensity down. I'm going to turn the paint intensity up. And then wherever I put that heart with that stamp tool is where it's going to be. Now you see it's kind of rough around the edge. I'm going to check my wireframe. I'm going to just make that wireframe a little more dense. And now we'll put the heart where we want. Oh, shoot. I lost my layer. It happens occasionally. I hit undo too many times, and then we lose the layer. And then I wonder why the heart has become permanent. Alright, so I'm going to give him a little heart. And again, it's a stamp, so it's following the contour of the object. And there you go. Now the cool thing is I can do a version with, when I go to print, with or without the heart. That's the advantage of using layers. Alright, let's do another layer, and I'm going to call this patch. I'm just going to make a square to start our patch off, and for color I think we'll grab let's do this color here. Alright, put a patch on this guy right here. Symmetry is turned off. Turn it at a little bit of an angle. Now, that reasonably looks like a patch. Alright, yeah, it's a little high. You can't reposition this once you get it on there, so it's in your best interest to put it where you want it. But we're like, hey, let's do some threads on this patch to make it look like it's, you know, like it's actually stitched into it. So we come over here to our patch layer, make sure that that's selected. Actually, I'm going to do a layer on top of that. We'll call this stitches. And then I'm going to switch into Matcap view. Grab that mask tool. Go kind of small here. And I want the stitches to follow the patch as well as the cloth that it's stitched into. So I'm just going to draw some stitches here, right? Keep them nice and fat so they turn up nicely if you print this smaller. That's a little too far over there. Okay, got our patch stitches the way we want. We're going to jump back into our extraction tool. And there you go. We've got instant stitches. I'm going to round them a little more. And we'll say extract. And then we'll go ahead and grab this guy here. We will clear our mask. Whoop. And slip back into paint mode. And once again, I want to use a color that's already on my model. Keep things simple. And there you go. Now we've got patches with stitches. This is Nomad Sculpt. So now you can kind of go crazy. You're like, well, heck, I want to put a patch here, I want to put a patch here. Keep in mind, the more detail and the more objects that you put into your print, the harder your printer is going to have to work, and the longer the print will take. But again, the cool thing is, you're like, I want a version with and without the patch. So we go, boom, we turn the patch off. And it's kept it there. Wonder what happened. What did we, oh, hold on. What did I do? I did stitches on top. I did stitches on top of the patch. Yeah, the stitches are separate objects, so we create new geometry. Yeah, Nomad Sculpt, running on an iPad. They have it for Android as well. All right, so let's keep moving. Again, like I said, the more detail you add, the more your print is going to take in terms of time to print. One thing I do want to add here on the cheeks is a little bit of cheek. So I'm actually going to use, ordinarily I would just paint circles on here, but I'm going to keep going down the direction of creating geometry, because geometry stands up higher off of your print and actually takes a few more layers to create the color. So in the end, you get a more successful print based on that. So you can either use geometry, or in this case, like what we've been doing, I'm just going to use the masking tool, and we're going to create geometry out of the mask extraction. Symmetry is turned on. Yep. Okay. So nothing major, just a couple of little circles out here for those Raggedy Ann cheeks. I'm going to unlock it to make sure that it's good symmetry, and it is good shape. Oh yeah. All right. Mask extraction. Boom. We're done. I mean, that's as complicated as it gets. Extra smooth. That's the way I like my cheeks. Extra smooth. Eliminate the mask. And there we go. We've got cheeks. Let's head back over to paint. What color would I do the cheeks? We could probably use this color right here. Again, trying to keep it in the family, so to speak. There you go. All right. Well, all that's left is for me, let's go ahead and save this actually now that I'm thinking about it. What's left now is some decisions that I need to make. I do actually need to tweak this hair because I forgot we need to make this hair permanent. We're going to save a copy of it in case I want to come back and edit it later, but we need to make these hair strands permanent. So we need to validate them. Oop. I want multiple points on a new object. There we go. I used to have a number of resin printers too, and I got out of resin printing shortly, well, when I sold a lot of my printers, again after surviving cancer. And resin printing can be a little bit corrosive to your lungs and not good for you, so I took that out of my life because it was just not healthy. But I'd really be interested to see how these things produce in resin. Okay, I don't have to do much here. I just wanted a little bit of irregularity in the strands, and I think we got that. Alright, so let's save this one more time, and I'm going to do something that I usually do, and that is a version. I'm going to save this as a version of itself. So if we mess things up, we can always come back. And I was talking to Steph earlier, and that was one of the things we were talking about was, you know, being able to come back and redo things and keeping things in their primitive state. You can do that with versioning as well. That's usually the way I do it. So, all right. Well, before we articulate anything, we have to trim our model, and that's what we got going here. So the trim line is right down this blue line. So we're going to trim off the back of this guy so he lays flat on the printer bed. Now, could we situate it so it prints standing straight up? Yes, we could. And I'm actually saving a version for that reason because I want to test this guy in both orientations. But same as I've done for these models, we're going to do him the same. So there'll be an option where you can print him on his back, and obviously to do that we need to go ahead and trim the back. So we've got some, you know what I think we need to do? Let me take a look at the straw hands. Let me increase the count here. We're going to add a little more straw in there. I'm going to randomize it just a smidge. I think I want to bring that tube a little closer to center. Turn the grid off so it fills up that gap in the center. I'm going to reduce that size of the tube because then I'm going to scale the whole thing up. Pull that up the arm just a little bit. We're just trying to fill this sleeve a little better. That's what we're trying to do. Okay, I like that. That's a good look. That's about the same size as the hair. Alright, I think we're good here on the feet. I pulled all of these up off of the shoes. Well, for the most part. Alright. Let's save one more time. Take a drink of coffee, and then we're going to start merging some shapes together. I need to leave this coffee open because this mug is just way too good. It's like still ready to fry my tongue off. Yep. Yep, that's good. All right. Alright, let's lock our view here. I'm going to grab, we're going to go ahead, since we've saved a cut, actually, I'm sorry, I'm going to do another version here. We're going to do a quick version. Now I can go back if I need to. So now I can do pretty much anything I want to this model here. That is the shoes. Name it appropriately so we don't accidentally merge something we don't want to. Now, because I've applied the paint to everything, when we start merging models together, the colors will stay with it, and that'll be important, you'll see later, when it comes to actually exporting this as a file for Bamboo Studio to do printing. I do want to put another patch on the pants to kind of juxtapose this patch here. But I want to wait and see where the articulation is going to be for his knee before we go that route, so we'll get to that. In the meantime, we've got our body, coat, so we've got our body, right? That's that whole piece there. We've got the arms. I'm going to join the children on the arms, and we'll call it arms. Coat. Stitch. Alright, so we got the body, we got the cheeks. That will leave as a separate object, the same with the smile. And the reason is because it'll guarantee a sharper print. Alright, there's the nose. I always leave the nose separate as well. And the eyes. The hat, again, things that we don't need to join, we won't. But in the case of the hat, we've got the band, the brim, and then the hat itself, and that's all going to be trimmed. So these need to be merged together. The hair, this all needs to be merged together as well. And a quick way to do that is once you get the hair positioned the way that you want, then you go ahead and use your voxel merge, which is what we'll do now. So I'll use the hair as the example. So we'll start with the hair. I'm going to go remesh. Alright, and what it's doing now is it's going to weld all of these pieces together into one piece. So I'm going to set the resolution to anything higher than 350, and then we'll hit remesh. And just like that, it's all one piece. Alright, now I can take my smooth tools if I want, or I can use my smooth operation. Smooth the geometry a little bit. And if I want to come in here and be a little more discriminate with my smoothing, I can grab my smooth brush and do exactly that. Very cool, huh? Alright. And if I want to solo it, I can do that too, so I'm just looking at the hair itself. Alright. It's not bad for a wig. Alright. So let's turn solo off. We've got our hair done. Let's move on to the hat. Again, we've got individual objects. What we're going to do now is we're going to grab all of those objects as a unit and again mesh them together. What are we at? 7.3. It's a little high. Let's put it about 475. And again, I'm going to smooth it a little bit with the smooth tool. Smooth operation. And again, you can see if we zoom in, now again we're zooming in tighter than you normally would, but you can see that these have all been merged together into one. Still got stamp tool selected, my bad. They've all been merged in together into one piece, which will come in handy when we go to trim these pieces. Alright, so next we're going to do the head. I think actually we'll do all the major pieces. So the head, the scarf, the coat, the arms, the stitches, the body, and for that matter, let's open this up so we can see what we're doing. We're going to do everything. Actually, the shoes we need a duplicate on the shoes. Let's go ahead and take care of that. I'm going to add a mirror. So we got 2 shoes now. Did you see that? We had 1, now we got 2. One thing that you'll notice is we've got some of our tubes are touching each other here, so I'm just going to edit those back because we don't want that to happen when we go to print this guy. Don't need much clearance, but you just need a little bit of a gap. I'm going to turn on X-ray so we can see through things here. Alright. I like that. Let's see if everything else looks good. It does. We got straw coming out of the pants. Got our shoes, we've got our pants, our coat, our straw hands. Alright, so once again, we're going to merge all these pieces together. I'll open up my panel. So the shoes needs to be validated into a single object. It doesn't need to be instanced or grouped, so we'll just take that out. I'm going to call these shoes. This is the straw at the base of the legs. I'm going to go ahead and validate this and validate this. We got straw in the hands and the feet, so we'll just call it. We'll just name it hands and feet. All right, the nose again goes into the head. Cheeks, head, smile in the head. What is this here? Oh, that's the eyes. I'm going to keep that individual. The body, we've got arms, coat, stitch. Now, one thing that's going to happen, I just realized, just thought about it. I'm glad I thought about it. This heart is actually going to become a permanent part of the geometry if we merge it with the heart on there. So I'm actually going to get rid of the heart for now. The patch, I'm keeping that. We'll put the heart on after we're done as a separate layer so you can turn it off and on as you choose. So we got the stitches. This is the patch stitch. There should be a T in there, doesn't matter. Alright, I think we've got everything. Yeah. So we're going to start with the head. We are going to add the hair. and the hat, the body, the arms, coat, the stitches for the coat. Actually, the stitches can be separate. For that matter, I think the patch stitches can be separate as well, yeah. We need the neckerchief, the shoes, the hands and feet. Alright, we're going to merge all of those objects into one. And that's a little bit of a preview, so if you see something that isn't highlighted that should be, this will enable you to see it. I'm going to set the resolution kind of high because we want a nice sharp line between our colors, so I'm going to set it to about 500. Let it remesh, take a drink of coffee. Excuse me. Alright, just like that, we now have, we'll just call it Scarecrow. And as you can see, it retained all of our paint colors. All of the objects that we wanted to leave as separate objects we made it so. And all of these objects that we left separate won't affect anything when it comes to setting up articulation or slicing the back of our model, which we're going to do now. I'm going to save another version because I like to be careful. Take a quick look around, make sure that we like the way everything looks. I like the way it looks, so we're good. Alright, on we go. I'm going to turn on our grid. We'll lock our view, and real quick we're going to grab our rectangle shape to trim. We'll set it right at that blue line, right there. Alright, tap it. Tap it to trim. Make sure you have the object selected that you want to trim. And now our Scarecrow is flat on the back. Now you'll see that it messes a little bit with the color. Oh shoot, sorry. First thing we need to do is just remesh it a little bit to clean up these edges. And then what I'll typically do is I'll go in and do a little bit of painting. So I'll just grab a sample of color, come in and do a little bit of painting, a little bit of cleanup. We don't need the stabilizer on. We'll turn that down to about 10. And actually, the best way to do this is probably go ahead and add layers for your colors. So in case you need to erase a color, you can do so easily. So there we're putting in color. If for some reason I go over the lines as I'm painting, I get too far up the hat, I can just erase it, like so. Keeps your editing non-destructive. Alright, let's go ahead and do another color. We'll call this light brown. And we will sample that color and continue painting our light brown. And then we'll add in another layer, and we'll call this yellow. place it where it doesn't belong. It's always good to zoom in. Alright. Let's go back to our light brown layer and sample our light brown color. Do a little cleanup here. Alright, we're moving on to a new color, so we'll call this teal or teal. And we'll sample that color. Paint our teal in here. Alright, same thing down here. Only difference is we've got kind of a jagged profile on the side of our jacket, so let's go ahead and reduce that brush size and just create some matching cuts and tatters back here on the edge of his jacket. There we go. Okay, same thing down here. We're going to go back to our light brown layer. Sample the light brown color, tighten that up, make sure symmetry is on. Oh, and then last but not least, our dark brown color. Just a little bit of cleanup right there. Okay. So, we have set up our model for painting, for trimming, or for laying flat on the print bed. So what we want to do next is do points of articulation. So there's a number of ways that you can do this. I'm actually going to switch into matte cap real quick because I want to grab my smooth tool and go around the organic junctions here on the arms. Make sure that that doesn't look like it was glued on. On this particular model, we don't have a lot of those areas to pay attention to, but where they do show up, we want to give them the attention they deserve. There we go. All right. So let's go ahead and continue in matte cap mode for the articulation part. So to keep it simple, I'm thinking we'll do an articulation point here across the chest, or just below the neck. Sorry. So we'll do a cut here. I'm thinking we'll do a cut that, it's going to cut into his coat a little bit, but it'll kind of come down his midsection here. Definitely at the knees. We want to articulate him at the knees, and I'm thinking at the elbows. That geometry should be big enough to support that. So let's get started and see what we got. So we're going to use our split tool. All right. And I'm going to start with the ellipse. And we're just going to go right here in the center and draw a nice big ellipse. The main thing I'm going to look at is this bottom curve. That's the curve that I want to establish, because everything else I'm going to adjust. So let's articulate them right about there. Now I'm going to switch into polygon mode and get rid of these points that I don't need. Square off the ones I want to keep, and then give it a little tap. And now, if I come over here, grab the Scarecrow, bring it up here, because this is actually his head. We'll name it appropriately. And then I'll put the smile, and the cheeks, the nose, and the eyes back in the head, so I can do this. I'm going to lift his head up slightly. Off the body. Okay? Just like that. Alright, I'm going to go back to our trim tool. Oh, I didn't want to do that. There we go. So we're going to trim. I'm going to trim the lower part of the body, or the upper body, away from the lower body now. Okay. So once again, I'm going to draw an ellipse. make that curve the way I want it to look. So somewhere in that vicinity. Now if I really don't like it and I want my curve to be more extreme, I can just tip it up on its end like that. And that's what I'm going to do. I want to come below the jacket though. Initially I was going to... And actually, now that I think about it, if I bring this low enough, we can articulate the legs here as well. So let's do that. Alright. Now again I'm going to switch into polygon mode because I don't want to trim the edges of his arms off. Although, you know what? With a little bit of pixel trickery here, we can go ahead and slice his arms at the same time. Question is, which way do I want that to go? I think I'm going to go like I normally do. I'm going to have it angled down. Alright, I'm basically do the same thing on the other side. Tell you what, let's do it that way. Let's pull this up a little further here. Alright. Got a curve that comes up here. Curve that comes up there. I think that's high enough. And now I kind of feel like I want to pull it back down. And that occasionally happens. If you grab your shape, you can sometimes resize it inadvertently. So let's see if I can size it back down to where I want it. Alright, we got lucky there. I want the curve right about there. Alright, I think that's good. Let's make sure this is selected, and it is. We just tap our shape, and we've split our pieces off. Now they're individual. The upper body is a separate piece from this piece, but this is still one piece. So what we need to do is grab our split tool once again, and now we can just use the rectangle. Make sure it's selected. Now that becomes its own. A good way to see this is turn on X-ray, so you can make sure that you're splitting the right piece off from the other pieces. Hopefully that makes sense. It makes sense to me. Alright. I'm going to go into polygon mode. Alright, we've got separation here between the legs. That's... Oh, shoot. Made a boo-boo there. That's right, let's go back. Can't believe I didn't see that. Alright, let's try again. I need that piece. That piece. And then ultimately these pieces to be separated. There we go. Alright. So now we all have our separate pieces. I'm going to grab our gizmo tool, and one by one we're going to move them away from the body to create our articulation gap. Nothing too dramatic. We've just sliced and diced our Scarecrow up. Alright. Alright, we turn X-ray off, and as you can see now, we are in position to go ahead and create our articulation links, and this guy will be pretty much ready to go. Now that we've done our articulation, I'm going to go ahead real quick and do the patch on this guy here before I forget the way that I want it to. So we've got our patch up here. Actually, I'm going to stay in paint mode. I am going to select that teal color because I think that's the color I want to use. I'm going to do it on this leg. And turn symmetry off because I only want one patch. There we go. And then I want to put stitches on the patch like we have up here. So let's grab our mask tool. Now I'll switch into matcap mode. Bring our brush size down a little bit, and we'll paint. Whoop, need to up the resolution on that leg. And hit it, looks like, with a little smooth action. Okay. Alright, now with our mask tool, we'll go ahead and paint in our stitches. Mask extraction, and we'll extract it, and we will clear all masks and give them some color. Paint them accordingly. There we go. Instant patch and stitches. Alright. What time is it? It's only 2:30. We're doing good. Let's move on to articulating our body segments, shall we? This I like to do in matcap. So, I'm going to grab the head. Actually, let's go ahead and add in our links, and we'll do everything else here in a second. So I'm going to add to the scene. I've got a link pre-set up, a link scene. Where is it? Should be down here. There it is, links master. There we go. We're going to turn on X-ray so you can see. Alright, so we're going to put this over here because we're going to need a link on each leg. And we'll rotate it into position, scale it down. Now ordinarily I don't do mirrors on link sets, but today we're going to make things a little easier on ourselves. I'm going to go back into turntable mode because again this is a little easier to manage. Alright, so we need to make sure that this link is inside of the geometry that we're going to be attaching it to. Alright, so that's good. Alright, I'm going to go into here and I'm going to this is actually on the legs. Oh, I'm sorry. We need to name these body parts here real quick. Let's do that. So we got the head, we got the upper body, this will be left arm, what is this? That's right arm. That'll be right leg. And that is patch, stitches, leg. This will be left leg. I'm going to rename this real quick. This will be patch, stitches, coat. Alright, now we can grab our items easily and know what goes where. Upper body is going to go up here under the head. Left leg. Right leg, right arm goes up here with the body, or at least below the body. Alright, so here's our links. So our first link is going to go in our left leg because that's where we created it. I'm going to go ahead and hit this with a mirror, and as you can see, it's going to pop a copy of it over to the other side. So we've got two sets of links. And again, that's handy only to set things up. We'll go ahead and have them be their own objects once we get done. But right now, it just, because this whole model is symmetrical, it makes it a lot easier to duplicate it. Not only for the one over here for the leg, but now also I'm going to clone it again and move copies up here into the arms. And we'll position these, get them at the right size. And let's go look at it from the side, make sure it's within the arm geometry. We can actually stand to go a little bigger. We want these as big as possible because the smaller the link, the more of a chance it has to fail. Alright, that looks good. So we've got links for the legs and the arms. Now we need one more link here for the neck. I'm just going to go ahead and add that link by itself because it won't mirror, it'll just be its own link. Scale it down, push it up here where it goes, and again position it on the right or on the side. There we go. Alright, so these are the links for our head. I'm going to put them in the head. And then we're going to select the head, we'll solo it, and we have it set to X-ray, so now whatever I select, everything else will show up as an X-ray item. I'll turn the grid off because we don't need it. Now you can see, I'll turn on wireframe, you can see our edges are a little rough here. So what we're going to do is we're going to mesh this up to clean it up. And there you go. Smooths it out a lot easier than going in and doing it manually. And actually I think I'm going to redo that. I'm going to push it just a little higher for a little more detail there. Yeah. Okay, so slipping back over here to our mask tool, I'm going to tap the screen so everything is masked, and now I'm just going to unmask the area that I want to manipulate with our brush tool to create clearance for these links. So right here is the link that needs to clear, the one that's vertical. So let's go ahead and using our masking tool, we'll unmask the area that we want to sculpt with our brush. Alright, grab that brush, nice big brush, set it to sub so it pushes the geometry in, and you'll see that link geometry gradually appear. Okay, we'll smooth it out. I'm going to turn off solo, and we'll grab something else so we can check by way of X-ray. We can look through and see that we've got good clearance between the head and the link. The side is a little close here on the top and bottom, so I'm going to go ahead and Use our brush tool. We'll push the top in a little bit more, as well as the bottom. And then we'll smooth it out once more. Turn solo off. And that is a lot cleaner. A lot more gap there. I like that. Alright, so that'll work just fine. Now we need to take this link group and we need to put it into the upper body. That's the next piece. Now we also have links out here on the arms. So we need to actually include those links in the equation. I'm going to come down here. Here's our links. We're going to go ahead and validate this mirror, and I'm going to keep instances. Actually, I'm going to uninstance. And now all of these link sets are their own links. All right, so I want these links, these link groups, and that link group to be attached to the upper body. So let's find them. All right, there's that set and that set. So let's grab this set and put it into the upper body, and this set, same thing. Grab the whole upper body, solo it, and tap the upper body so everything else is, oh, we gotta put links down here too. All right, let's unsolo it, and let's grab these links. And we don't need these instance references anymore. All right, now we grab the entire upper body, solo it, tap it, everything else stays in X-ray. Okay, we're going to clean these edges up again with our voxel remesh. I'm going to pump it up to about 450. Grab our mask tool, tap the screen to mask everything, and now we're going to go do the unmask. Now symmetry's turned on, so what we're doing over here is going to show up on the other side as well. Oop. So right in here, I'm going to line it up here, and then we're just going to unmask this area here, because this is where we'll be creating the indent to accommodate that ring. Let's double check the other side, and for whatever reason it did not come over to this side. I'm not sure why. Symmetry is on, so I'm going to turn symmetry off because maybe it's not 100% symmetrical. Not a big deal. Let's go back and check the other side. Alright, yeah. I'm going to remask this. It doesn't need to be that big of a gap on the edge. And then we're going to come down here and do the same thing with this ring. I'm going to create a space for it to articulate. And same thing over here on this one. We'll blur it, just blur that edge a little bit. Grab our brush, and we will push the geometry in for one. Push the geometry in for this one. Same thing over here. And we're going to smooth it all out. Okay, now let's turn solo off. I'm going to grab this leg and we're going to look at all the links, make sure we've got good clearances. Clearance there, 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 and there. Let's check it from the side. Good clearance on the arms. And the legs. We didn't do this link up here, that's my bad. Let's go ahead and grab that upper body again. Solo. Grab our mask tool. The link here that we need to clear is the horizontal link. So let's go ahead and unmask that area there. Brush it in. it out. Good clearance there, top and sides. Fabulous. All right, let's go ahead and save where we're at. And then let's do the appendages. So we're going to grab, we'll just do the arm pieces and then the leg pieces separately. So I'm going to grab these link sets here. Where is it? This one here. Goes with the left arm. And then this link set goes with the right arm. A little solo. And we'll go ahead and work on this side first. Let's set that remesh up to about 350. And then our mask tool. Link here we're working with, once again, is the horizontal link. I'm going to set my camera to trackball. Get a little more control here. I want to look straight down the barrel of the link. There we go. We'll go ahead and brush this link in as long as we're here. Smooth it out. Grab this piece over here, same thing. Res it up to about 350. Mask it. Again, it's the horizontal link that we're going to reveal. Or create a space for, I should say. We're not revealing. That's a little fat there. I think my brush is too fat. There we go. Alright, let's push that geometry in. Alright, let's unsolo it. Let's select the head or the eyes. There we go. Alright, we've got, no, that's not tight enough there. You see here where it's intersecting the ring. So we're going to have to fix that. We're going to have to push that in. So the right arm needs tuning. Let's check the rest here. Same with the left arm. Alright, so let's jump in here. I think our mask didn't go out far enough, so let's do this. We grab the mask tool, and we're going to unmask that area. I'll tell you what, let's clear the mask. I think that's going to help. Actually, if we smooth this, that might actually do a lot of the work for us. Pushing that edge out just a little bit right there. Let's see, clear. And then we're going to grab our smooth tool and push that edge out a little bit. Let me know if you got any questions, any comments. Hopefully my music isn't putting you to sleep. Alright. Let's see if that was enough. Can't imagine it wouldn't be. Alright, I'm going to grab the eye again. Ooh. Alright, well here's the good news. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to grab these links and we're going to scale it down just a smidge. Width-wise only though. There we go. That'll be enough gap there on that side. same here. Narrow it, scale it, and move it. Perfect, just like we meant to do. All right, these here look pretty good. All right, so now we need to we need to check from the side too. Wasn't thinking. Side looks good. How's the side look? Side looks good there. Looks good on the other side as well. Yeah, okay. Now we just need to finish the links for the lower legs here. So let's go ahead and get in there and do that. So this goes into the right leg. And this goes into the left leg. We'll sew that. Grab the leg. And we'll pump that resolution up a little higher. Grab our mask tool. The horizontal link is the link in question. I'm kind of curious. This link looks like it's off center. It is a little bit. Alright, let's change that. I'm going to move that over. Nothing too dramatic. I just want to get it off this edge a little bit. Alright, let's grab our brush tool. As always, we're going to brush it in. Push that geometry in off of our link, smooth it out. Looks good from the top, looks great from the side. Do the same thing over here. That'll be right leg. Alright, we're going to kick up the resolution a little bit here. Get our mask tool. Again, the horizontal link is the one that we're... Actually, that needs to move too, doesn't it? Alright, grab the gizmo. Move it off of that inner leg just a smidge. Okay. Alright, grab the right leg again. And our mask tool. Because we are going to unmask where that link is going to articulate. Brush tool, push the geometry in. Smooth it out, turn solo off, select those eyes again. Okay, we've got good clearance there, good clearance there. Alright, so now all we got to do is put the links where they live and join them to the geometry, and our model is ready for testing. So, on that note, I'm going to open up our object palette. This link here goes with the upper body. This link here goes with the head. So we're going to assign all of our links to their proper place. So this goes with the the right arm. This goes with the upper body. Upper body. This goes with the left leg. This goes with the upper body. Alright, I think we've got it. Let's go to the head. going to solo it. And the object that we want, we're going to get rid of the mask. The objects we want are the head and the link, and that's it. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and remesh to weld them together. And then we'll grab our smooth tool, smooth out this link and the cavity where the other link articulates. And then, just as a little added precaution, I like to take my clay tool and build up the area around the base of the link just to give it a little extra strength. And that link is done. Let's go ahead and switch to the upper body. What's this mirror? That's the eyes. Okay, and that's the new head. Let's name it appropriately as we go. Alright, upper body, solo. Grab the mask tool. Let's clear all masks. Once again, I want the body. I want this ring, that ring, that ring, and that ring. Those are the pieces that we are going to weld together. Put my resolution at about 350. And again, we'll grab our smooth tool, smooth out the cavity, the ring, make it nice and smooth. Smooth surfaces and objects print faster because the printer doesn't need to turn a corner. Don't know if anybody ever told you that, but that is the case. I'm going to check this other side because if I remember right, it wasn't perfectly symmetrical. I think we're fine. I'm actually going to turn symmetry off on this piece here. Okay, clean that up, smooth it out. Okay, and then grab that clay tool. As I said before, I like to just a little bit, not a lot, because you don't want this to interfere. Actually, let me turn symmetry on now. Go back, see if symmetry works here. You don't want to build up too much down here because it might interfere and fuse with the other side of your geometry. The piece that is linking to this piece. So you have to be sparing in what you do. And it doesn't hurt to go back and check your clearance gaps. Just a little bit of clay here around the base. Smooth it. There we go. And then last but not least, this guy up here up front. There we go. Alright. Turn solo off. Alright, clearance looks good. Right arm. I'm going to do that one next. Res it up. And smooth it out. We already smoothed all the edges out here, so Just going to provide a little bit of reinforcement in here. Smooth that out. Left arm. And we'll weld it, smooth it. Again, grab that clay tool for a little bit of reinforcement here. It's almost like you're welding a bead in there. Okay, where are we at now? So we've done the head, we've done the upper body, we just need to do the legs. Left leg, start there. We're still masked. Let's get rid of that mask. I just need this piece and this piece. I don't want to weld those stitches in. I like to keep them separate. Turn on the smoothing. Grab the clay tool. Smooth it out. There we go. Alright, last piece. The other leg. Right leg, solo. Get rid of the mask. Weld the pieces together. Grab the smooth tool. Do what the name implies. Put it in the bowl. If anybody watches Scotty K Fitness, you know what I'm talking about. Again, we'll clay up the edge here. Smooth it out. All to provide a little bit of extra strength on our link. And there you go. And there is our Scarecrow foot. Turn X-ray off. And let's turn paint back on. Now, as you can see, all of our links are the colors of, well, links. We need to fix that. So let's grab the head, we'll solo it. Now we need to clean that up a little bit too. That's where we sliced it. I'm going to grab my paintbrush. Do we have layers for this? We do. Let's work on the teal layer first. Sample the teal color. Paint that link up. Turn symmetry off because this is not symmetrical over here. Oops. Went through the to the head. Alright, and then this color here obviously is our light brown, so we'll sample that. And just fill that in a little bit. And we went over there too. Fortunately, I know how to fix it. Alright. So there's that piece. Looks good. Got a little gap there. Not worried about that. That'll work. That'll look just fine. Let's solo this piece. Do a little clean up here. Start with the teal. I've got got symmetry turned on, so that should guarantee that it paints the other side too, but we're going to go check it just to be sure. Shoot, didn't want to do that. Yep, we got color on the other side too. How about that? Alright, let's color it here. Take it right up to the edge. Fill that in there. There's a little bit of white right there. There we go. Got to look for that. Alright, I'm going to switch to the light brown. Yep. Turn symmetry off. Otherwise you'll have a big splotch of color on the other side and wonder how it got there. Okay, so let's see. We need to do the bottom. Turn symmetry back on. Okay. Did we fix that on the back? We did. Looks like we need to smooth this here on the back. Yes? No. That's a paint anomaly. Alright. Let's go to the teal. Sample our teal. Not sure where that came from, but it's fixed now. Alright, leg. Let's sew the leg. Definitely a light brown. Make sure all of that color is in there, because if you don't, it'll print white inside there and you'll wonder why is it asking for white. Light brown, kind of a caramel color, if you will. Color. Yep. Alright. And now we got to do the arms. And the arms need a teal layer. We will sample the teal color and paint it appropriately. Now the cool thing is you can make these colors anything you want when you actually go to print. So if you want to make the shirt red and the pants black, you can do that. Just change the colors in your AMS and tell your slicer that's what you're doing. Alright. Last arm. Yep, still at it. Almost done though. Still painting, huh? Yeah. That's what we do. This is what we train for. Just making sure all the paint is everywhere. Okay. just like that, our Scarecrow is ready for test print. How about that? Oh yeah! Ah! Had to lean back and stretch there, folks, because that was a bit of an ordeal. God, I'm not lying. I am not lying. This is probably the most flexi-intensive, non-symmetrical model that I've made. Granted, there's some symmetrical aspects to it, but this was, yeah, this was a little bit of a challenge. I'm glad that we did it. I probably would have liked to have done the articulation a little differently, but that's just the perfectionist in me. Sorry, I'm doing a little cleanup here. And, you know, again, it's something we can always do next time, you know, on the next model, I should say. And I am still going to try and figure out a way to, make this where it can break apart into pieces, and then if somebody wants to print it larger and then assemble it, they can do so. I'm going to see if I can find the time, I should say. It'd be more accurate saying, because if I can't find the time, then it's not going to happen. One last thing that I do want to do, and I just realized that I forgot it, and it would be bad if I did. A lot of people like to put these on their keychains, so we need to put our keychain mount in here. Let's go ahead and save this guy, and then we're going to add to it our pre-made keychain mount. Pull it into position. The models that I make obviously has this option. You can either, you know, print it with a keychain mount or not. And for the people that want to, I provide a keychain mount. I'm going to slip into X-ray. I'm going to paint it. Actually, before I go into X-ray, let's go grab our color and then paint it the proper color. Now I'm going to turn on X-ray because I want to see and make sure this lines up with the bottom of my model. And it pretty much does. Turn X-ray off. So it comes with a keychain option. You can put it on a keychain, and then there's always a model or a version that doesn't have the keychain. Oh, and we need to add our heart back in. So that's done. Actually, you know what? I need to tweak this just a little bit over here. I'm going to lock it. We need to just pull this side. We'll turn symmetry off. We need to pull this side up so it doesn't encroach on the edge of our hat. Or we can just trim it. So I can grab our trim tool, go to the lasso, and then just follow this right here and go boop, trim, done. That probably looks cleaner. Alright, so the keychain mount is in place. Let's go put our heart back on the chest of our coat here. So we need to create another layer. And this will be heart. And like we did before, we're just going to grab our stamp tool, grab the heart shape, and we're going to make it yellow. I'm going to angle it just a little bit. So right there is where the heart goes. Yep. Only want one, so we'll turn the symmetry off. And looks like we need to pump that resolution up again. Let's go up to about 500. Put Actually, you know what? That's usually how I do it. I think I'm going to do the heart a little differently this time. Now that we know how to use that mask tool and create our extrusion from the mask, I think we'll use that. Now, unfortunately, I don't think there's a way to use shapes, so we'll have to freehand the tool. I wish there was. It'd be neat if we could do a stamp. Can we do a stamp? How about paint? No, paint won't do it either. Because I really like to extrude that geometry off of here. But let's go ahead and see if we can freehand a heart. And the reason I want to do this is because sometimes the hearts, when they print, especially when you're printing a small print, it has a tendency to get a little light in color. If we're extruding or printing geometry, you can adjust the height of the geometry, obviously, by doing this mask extrusion. And it also makes smooth geometry, so the print, I think the heart will come out a lot smoother. I need to shift this over here. Let's grab our unmask tool now, and actually we can turn on our stabilizer. Heavy on this side. Let me clean that up. Back in from the inside. Alright. It's a little taller than I would like, so let's go ahead and fix that. Nope, that was too far. That was also too far. I don't want to take the top off, I'm going to take the bottom off. Alright, I like that. Make a mask stamp. Yeah, I've used them. Yeah, I've used the stamp. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use the mask extrusion to create geometry rather than just a stamp on top of, you know what I mean? That's the way I usually do it, is I use the stamp. Hopefully that makes sense. But if you've got a way to use stencils with the masking tool, I am wide open to suggestions. Do you understand what I'm suggesting? All right, so that's pretty symmetrical. We can. Okay. Okay. Well, now that I know I can, you and I should probably connect on, literally on how to do that. If you've got something you want to show me, I am all for it. I'm going to go ahead and extract this for now. And I'm going to erase the mask off of here. And this is now our heart, which we will name appropriately. And we're going to color that the color of a normal heart, which would be yellow. I'm kidding. But really, we are going to make it yellow. So now if we don't want the heart there, or somebody doesn't want the heart there, all they have to do is turn that layer off. So how do we use a stencil in our mask tool? Because just, to me, it almost seems like common sense that you want to be able to do that. Alright, I'm going to save this guy where he's at. And, oh, hold on, I didn't see it. Hold on. I'll tell you what, oh yeah, there it is. Sorry, I don't do this very often. Alright, I'm going to pause the music here while you come on to the live. Oh, you know what? Pause the music here while you come on to the live. Okay, I think I can hear you now. I might get, I might get looping back through my computer. Sure. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to. Okay, I think I can hear you now. Hold on.